All right, here we go. It's your host, Ray Tucker.
And Jay Jones.
Coming to you again live from our living room.
Right.
Telling you where we stand on cultural issues from a biblical perspective, biblical and a black perspective.
Yes.
All right. And today we are talking about
On God.
On God. In the case for God. All right. You know, but we had to go there because, you know, sometimes people in our culture, especially nowadays, man, we've been hearing that a lot. People just be like, oh, on God.
Right.
Like, why?
I'm like, why? Man, that's on God.
You know, but no, the funny thing is, when you really probe them and press them, they don't really believe in God.
Yeah, that's true. It to me, it's like the whole on my mama back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, if I put it on my mama, then it's believable, right? So now
I'm serious.
Further,
you know,
on God.
It just becomes this cultural expression, like when you sneeze, God bless you.
And it's weird. I watch movies sometimes that exist in a different universe where there is a different God, but you'll still have people in the movie say, Jesus.
Yeah.
It doesn't even exist in your universe.
You know, and we're going to talk about that, actually. Yeah. So we're going to put forth some logical arguments and talk about faith, and that's pretty much it, and wrap it up after that. So we'll try to keep it looks like 2 short points, but, you know, there's some lengthy stuff in there, so we're going to try to keep it short and concise to the point. So forgive me if I'm talking a lot, but I'll talk fast.
We talk a lot.
Because I'm a New Yorker.
Right. New York.
Anyways, so off the top, we believe there is one and only one living and true God. He is an intelligent, spiritual, and personal being, the creator, redeemer, preserver, and ruler of the universe.
Yes.
God is infinite in holiness and in all other perfections. God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and his perfect knowledge extends to all things, past, present, and future, including the future decisions of his free creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Into the next one.
Yeah, I got it. We believe in one God eternally existing in 3 equal persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, who have the same nature and attributes, but who are distinct in office and activity.
So that's pretty much our disclaimer, right? So that's the position that we come from, and we just want to put that out up front. And if you don't want to watch the video after that, we ain't gonna blame you. But at least you know where we stand up front. We're not going to sugarcoat it and just kind of just lead people on and, you know, oh, where do they stand? Oh, well, that's where we stand. Right. Boom, right there. All right. Now, to back that up, let's go into the logical arguments, right? So first up, Leibniz's contingency argument, right? And the assumption is that the universe is just there. That's all. No explanation needed. Well, everything has to have an explanation of its existence.
Right.
If my son just popped out of nowhere, I'd be like, where'd you come from?
Exactly.
Right? Man, God dang it. 1 second. Keep this rolling.
Yeah. Well, while he's over there stopping that alarm, there has to be an explanation for the existence. And it doesn't make sense to me that you would put more faith in assuming that the universe just has no explanation as opposed to a creator. And
there's an explanation for that alarm too, because that's usually, you know, our child's bath and bedtime and stuff now. So
exactly.
That's why we got the alarm going off right there in the living room. So that way, when we're all out here playing, again, we're recording this in the evening today. Usually we're in the middle of daytime somewhere, but it's such as life.
Did that alarm just come to be? Or did you say
it just came out of nowhere, you know. we just found all the parts in the field, and it just came together into an iPhone.
Oh my God.
But yeah, you know. So the premise is that everything that exists has to have an explanation of its existence, either in the necessity of its nature, that is like numbers exist by necessity, all right, or in an external cause. If the universe has an explanation of its existence, that explanation is God.
Yep.
If the universe exists, therefore, the explanation of the universe's existence is God. Yep. And again, we didn't mention this time, right? So we're going to post some videos in the descriptions, and where I found these. I mean, we kind of knew these arguments. We kind of heard them from different places, different people over time. But I stumbled across well, I kind of knew of William Lane Craig from Right Now Media. He has a series on there talking about God and really smart guy. Holy cow, right? But on his website, he has all these arguments laid out, like these really neat, short, concise videos that are awesome.
Great
and we're
videos.
going to post those links on our description page.
Check them out if you have time.
Yeah, so we're just kind of summarizing these arguments here for you guys, right? We're not even getting into all of them, right?
Right.
So I just want to make sure that's clear. But the three main points of the contingency argument is that you have necessarily existence versus contingency existence. God exists necessarily because nothing caused God to come into being. Everything else exists because of something else acting upon it. Right. That's really it.
Right.
Moving on. I'm not gonna beat that horse, but like I said, go to that video. Go look at those videos. It'll. We're just kind of playing fast and loose right here, right now. But
we trying to explain the videos as best as we can for good arguments. But the column Cosmological Argument, the assumption there is no causality, the Big Bang just happened, or the universe is just there and that's all. No causality.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a continuation of the first one. Right. Like something. They're kind of two sides of the same coin almost, something that has to be a reason and something has to cause it, and that's kind of what the premise is. Whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause. Right. And the two main points backing that up is number one, the second law of thermodynamics, which is the processes taking place in a closed system always tend towards a state of equilibrium. In other words, decay. Or in other words, there's a definite beginning. Right. Something is decaying, that means it had a state of being that was higher than what it was before. Right. So it's kind of speaking towards the laws of entropy.
Right. And just as a side note, the reason why God can be eternal and nothing caused him is because at some point something had to begin the cause.
Yep.
In order for all the effects to happen. And that's where we get God.
Yeah, exactly. So the universe cannot cause itself into being. Therefore, something outside the universe had to cause it into being. And the cause must be spaceless, timeless, immaterial, uncaused, and immensely powerful.
Like God.
Like God.
Like God.
On God.
Like God.
We gotta laugh through science, otherwise we ain't gonna make it.
I'm telling you, we gotta get y'all to laugh at something on God. No,
on God. But next up, it's the fine tuning of the universe argument, right?
I love this one.
An assumption is, again, the universe is just random chance, right? Just luck of the draw. Just think you're lucky stars that we're here, right?
They killed me with the faith in randomness or the faith in just something just happening. It makes more sense again when we look around us to believe that creation.
Yeah, it's
that phone that just went off over there. You caused it to go off. You really did. By setting the alarms.
Yeah.
You just forgot about it.
Yeah, I own that one.
Luckily, God doesn't forget, and He knows all. So.
Quack. It's for a duck for bath time, doing the rubber duckies and stuff. So just so you know,
it's a great mind right here.
It's so that my son knows that it's bath time. Right. Then he gets to play with rubber duckies because he hears little duckies going off in the background. It's not because I like Duck Dynasty. I mean, I do like Duck Dynasty, but that's not the reason why. But anyways, moving on.
Duck is good too, by the way. Oh, I gotta tell you about this spot they got. Oh, we doing the podcast. I gotta tell you about this spot that got some good ducks, man. But okay, anyway, the fine-tuning argument.
So moving on. So the main premise is there are constants and quantities about our universe that are dialed to such an exact value that if any of these values were changed, then no physical interactive life of any kind could exist anywhere. For example, the force of gravity is determined by the gravitational constant, and if this constant varied by 1 in 10 to the 60th parts, then none of us would exist.
Right.
So this 10 to the 60th parts is more than a total number of cells in your body, right? So if the gravitational force varied by less than one cell in your body, well, we're all done.
We're done for.
We're all done for. You know, a chance at most will bring about patches of order. But the chances of this amount of order in a universe falling into place is mathematically impossible, or I like to use the phrase mathematically absurd.
God be putting this stamp. He said, I'm gonna do something. Y'all gonna be stuck in amazement.
And that's only one constant.
Exactly.
You know, this that go back and watch the video, because the video talks about at least 3 or 4 different constants. Like it just becomes so absurd when you really think about it and actually look at it. Like you talk about the expansion rate and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, man. Like you cannot. But moving on, we're not gonna stay there for too long.
All right.
Let's talk about the moral argument. This is your favorite one here.
Yes, it is. The assumption you can be good without believing in God.
Now, the real question is, can you be good without God? Right?
Now, the biblical answer, of course, Christ said none are good but the Father. But let's talk about the moral argument.
So you want to go ahead to the premise?
Yes, the premises. If God does not exist, then objective moral values do not exist. But objective moral values and duties do exist. Therefore, God exists.
Again, this is why we call them logical arguments, because this is just a simple logic of it. You know, this is not something that we're putting forth that's empirical evidence, because you can't empirically prove God. Because if you could, then it wouldn't be God. If you could reach out and grab him and say, "This is God," then you'll be a golden calf, not a God.
Yep.
Right. So 2 points to that. The question is not whether you believe in God, but whether you can be good if there's no God. Right. So it's not a matter of belief or not. It's a matter of right and wrong. Right. And what God presents an objective moral standard. If there are no objective moral standards, then how can you differentiate between what's right and what's wrong? How can you have a claim to justice? Right. The idea is really morality has to be above us. Right. If survival of the fittest is true, then morality has no place. You know, why should I give water and food to those who are weak and helpless? I'm like, well, if you're weak and helpless, that's your fault. Poo-poo on you.
You competition.
Right? You competition. Like, why should I give up my hard-earned stuff to someone who's in need? Right? If evolution is true, if survival of the fittest is true.
And how do you even know that it's the right thing to do?
Exactly.
Because the morality is hardwired in us.
Yeah. It's transcendent upon us.
Absolutely.
Like it's above us, I should say.
Absolutely.
But again, we're not going to sit on that for too long. We're moving on. We got a lot of ground to cover. Yeah, suffering and evil argument, the logical problem. So we're going to talk about 2 sides of this, right? So we got the logical side and then the probability side. All right, so this is the logical one right here. So the assumptions behind this one is, with all the suffering and evil in the world, how can anybody believe in an all-loving, all-powerful God? And if God does exist, why would anyone want to worship him? Now, I understand this is a real compelling argument. Right. And we get it when it comes to, it's really also an emotional argument.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. And one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to invalidate someone who's been through suffering, been through pain, who've been raped. We did episodes on rape culture and rape survivors. Go check that stuff out, please. If this is the first video you're seeing from us, right? So we definitely empathize with people who've been suffering and been in pain, and we don't want to minimize that. No, right? But that's the logical argument, right? That we put in, that's been put forth, right?
Absolutely.
So how do we combat that? I don't want to say combat, but how do we approach it? Is, number one, let me back up first. So back up, first of all, there's 2 assumptions baked into that assumption, all right? Or two further assumptions baked into that assumption. They believe that it's logically impossible for God and suffering to both exist. But suffering does exist, therefore God does not exist. All right. Let's skip one. I should. Okay, yeah. So if God is willing to prevent evil but not able, then he is not all powerful. If he is able to prevent evil, but not willing, then he is not good. But if he is both willing and able, how can God exist? If he is neither able nor willing, then why call him God? And this is from Epicurus, the Greek philosopher, founder of the Epicurean school. This is back in from 341 and 270 BC. And this guy basically putting forth the argument of why God, right, with the suffering and evil, and he's putting forth 4 questions, and again, we get it, I get it from where he's coming from, it's a very compelling argument to believe, right, and if that's all you heard, you walk away thinking that, okay, well, there really is no God, and here's why, and like I said, we get it, right. But here's what we believe from our standpoint, that it is possible for both suffering and God to exist. And let's mess up on my slides a little bit here. But anyway, sometimes suffering comes about to bring about a greater good, such as surgery, exercise, discipline. And the burden of proof lies in the proving of a negative in the absolute. So here's the main thing, right? To say there is no God is to say there exists nowhere in the universe a white rock with black spots. But to know this, you would have to be present in all the universe at all time, which would then make you ever present or otherwise possessing omnipresence. Right? You would then have all knowledge of everything past, present, and future to know if there was, is, or ever will be a white rock with black spots, making you all-knowing or omniscient. And once you're both omnipresent and omniscient, you are then omnipotent, or that is all-powerful. Thus, to say there is no God, to affirm a negative in the absolute, is to posit the very godlike attributes to yourself in order to say there is no God. Right? A lot of people don't really think through this argument. Right?
Absolutely.
And the thing is, one of the 2 of my favorite questions to ask people when they say something like that, oh, there is no God. My first question is where? Where is there no God?
Right. Yeah. You're putting yourself in the place of God and determining, first of all, you're determining how God should be, right?
Yeah.
Well, God should be like this, and because he's not like this, you don't know the mind of God. You've just put yourself in the place of God and determining how things should be. Come on now.
Who are you?
Hey, who are you?
Oh man, I love when God was asking Job all of the questions. Like, were you there when I made the stars and the heavens and the moon?
He jammed him up.
Who are you? 64 questions.
Or when Paul says that, who are you, clay, to question the potter? He shut it down. It's like, yeah.
My other favorite question is asking when.
Right.
When was there no God?
Right.
Like, you ain't eternal.
How long have you been alive?
Exactly.
Right.
Like, we are a vapor. We are like grass. All the flesh is like grass. Here one day, gone tomorrow.
Yep.